likes me. Nobody likes me. But that's okay, because I don't like y'all anyway. Man, I don't like y'all anyway.
We need to pay attention to all this stuff. And don't muddy the waters. Don't let your mind get sidetracked. Because you need to remember that when, it's going to be time to vote again soon. So it's going to be local elections, all this stuff, everything, all these elections. You have to remember that the Republicans would rather collude with Russians than collude with Americans.
Them Staten Island niggas still puffing them dust blunt.
Donald Trump is a white supremacist who enables white supremacists. No lie. I mean, that's accurate. It's an accurate assessment of the situation.
Them Staten Island niggas still puffing them dust blunt.
Dragnets. How do they work? Just say no. Yeah. Here's the problem with just saying no. You can go about your life trying not to do drugs, but you turn on the news and you see Wigmaster over there talking about public health emergencies. That's why drugs are hard to stop. Because of people like that. Big week. It's always a big week. Can't we please have an uneventful week? That's all I want. All I want is one.
Them Staten Island niggas still puffing them dust blunt.
Oh, Jay, why are you wearing that resist shirt? What are you resisting? Bunch of isms and trees. Bigotry, misogyny, racism, fascism, and sexism. The people here the people on the South Shore, in the rich neighborhoods, the richer neighborhoods, not the poor neighborhoods, are brought up on bigotry, hatred, and classification of, societal roles. Hey, yo. Who's in the house? Dyze in your house. What goes on, peeps? It's Friday. It's at or around 6 o'clock, probably after 6 o'clock. I got held up at home. This is a brand new action-packed edition of Dyze in your house. I'm Jay Porks. You might know me. I've got a podcast on Mondays called the Jay Porks Podcast, available on the Dare Network. Every Monday, we go through the action-packed week that was in the new life, living in fascist America under the ruling of a totalitarian regime. We go through all of that every Monday on the Jay Porks Podcast, but there is so much going on. There's so much stuff that we found the need to bring you an extra 20 minutes a week on a separate platform. So what I need you to do is I need you to keep it locked to Least Coast Radio on iTunes. That's right, folks. Least Coast Radio for the least heard voices. So what you're going to do is you go to your podcast app, or you just go to iTunes. You search Jay Porks, or you search Least Coast Radio, or you search Dyze in your house. You hit subscribe. And then what you'll have is every time a new episode of Dyze in your house becomes available, you will have that right on your phone. Boom. Notification. Boom. Push notification. Boom. Leave a review. Now, you don't have to leave a review. I'm not asking anyone to do any writing that isn't me. But yeah, so there's that. So this is like the pre-show, the post-show, the prelude. It's Dyze in your house on Least Coast Radio. What goes on? Well, everything, really. Hope Hicks is out. Mueller's heating up. A lot of stuff happening. And we are going to talk about all of the latest Robert Mueller progress in the investigation. All of the latest that has gone down. A lot has gone down. We'll talk about Sam Nunberg being on TV, talking about, spilling the beans. We'll talk about that. I mean, that's all I mean. We cover a lot about, we talk about Russia every week on the Jay Porks Podcast because it's important. Democracy is important, and what happened to us in 2016 is something that we can never allow to happen again. And not only are we allowing it to happen again, but we're not actually taking active measures in making sure it never happens again. We didn't sign any new sanctions, which were voted on unanimously by the Senate. None of that. And Putin's over there making missile threats. But again, Monday. On Monday, you will get that on the latest episode of the J Porks podcast. But this is Dyze in Your House. We cover the extra. It's like when Emeril Lagasse kicks it up a notch. Bam, I'm the Bam. This is what Bam is on Friday. So, after pussyfooting around for about a year, we all believe now is Jared Kushner's time in the barrel. You may not have heard, so let me just break it down. Jared Kushner is Trump's son-in-law. He's married to Ivanka. Ivanka, the daughter Trump always wanted to be his wife, right? So, Jared Kushner has a real estate business, and he's made some poor investments in, they've made some poor investments with that business. I didn't have the loop on. See that? Dyze in your house. See that? You have to bear with me as I'm not very good technologically savvy. But don't worry. Get Dyze in your house every Friday. All right. Jared Kushner's time in the barrel is apparently here. Team Mueller is probing Kush's efforts to secure financing for Kush Corporation properties, focusing on his discussions during the transition with individuals from Qatar, Turkey, Russia, China, and the UAE, the United Arab Emirates. The feds have now reached out to Turkish nationals for information on Kushner via the FBI's legal attaché in the office in Ankara. That is the capital of Turkey. And you thought the capital of Turkey was gravy. Qatari officials visiting the U.S. in late January, early February, considered turning over to Mueller what they believe is evidence of efforts by the Persian Gulf neighbor Saudi Arabia, UAE, in coordination with Kushner to hurt their country. Qatari officials decided not to cooperate with Mueller for now, out of fear it would further strain Qatari's relations with the White House. This suggests that Qataris feel potential retribution from the Trump regime. Hashtag corruption, hashtag extortion. Multiple reports recently provided evidence of Kushner using U.S. foreign policy as leverage in a desperate attempt to bail out Kushco's 666 Fifth Avenue property. And today, Mueller is said to be investigating the shady details of that real estate sale. So, in layman's terms, Jared Kushner secured over $500 million during the transition. And I understand that he can claim that the money is in a trust with his mother and he's not actually doing any Kush Corporation type stuff. But these are why nepotism laws exist. Let's talk about nepotism for a second. Nepotism is when you hire your son-in-law to have a job in the White House doing basically everything. You've all seen it's almost comical, the list of jobs Jared Kushner has had. Peace in the Middle East, opioid crisis. I mean, those two right there that I can promise you are not going to be solved in the next, 4 to 8 years. God forbid. So, Kushner just lost his security clearance. He's no longer top secret, he's now just secret. Which doesn't really mean anything, because Trump could always call him into the office and say, hey, take a look at these documents, and then the security clearance no longer matters. But so, when you put someone who's your family in a position, and then they don't do well at that position, not only don't do well at that position, but they might be doing really bad at that position. They might be doing the opposite of excelling at that position. You just let that person go. That's how business works. I thought Trump knew business. That's what you guys told me. You guys told me he's a businessman. That's what everyone told me. So why would a businessman hire their son-in-law, somebody they're related to, who they know they're not going to be able to fire? And, I mean, why would you hire someone that you're just going to look at and be jealous of and say, man, I really wish I was inside my daughter right now? You know what I'm saying? You know Trump feels that way. You know he does. No, but in all seriousness, like Jared and Ivanka, or Jarvanka as they're known, I'm not calling them that. That's stupid. We don't need to make up little page 6 pet names for everybody. I call them Nept 1 and Nept 2. And they're both in the White House. Wordplay. Like it. So, Jared Kushner has just secret security clearance. It's no longer top secret. So what does that do? What does that do about his job? Well, most of the documents he allegedly was getting handed, he was the one reading the daily briefing. Because Trump doesn't read. Trump knows 80 words. So Jared Kushner, who is, again, a real estate tycoon, was like secretary of everything, now is secretary of nothing. And if in Fire and Fury, I'm glad I didn't dedicate a whole episode to Fire and Fury, because it really is like 6 paragraphs you need to read in that book, and that's it. But in one of the paragraphs, one of the chapters, they're talking about, Steve Bannon is talking about how somebody told him, no, Michael Wolff says, so what do you think about Ivanka going to be the first woman president? And he's like, you gotta be kidding me. Are you kidding me with this? I actually don't know what voice he was doing because it's words on a page. But like, yeah, they're doing so bad of a job. And they're under the impression that they're doing so good of a job. Like, for instance, this is why nepotism is a thing. For instance, they asked Ivanka Trump about Me Too and Time's Up. And she's like, she's all supportive. She's a woman, vagina and such. So she was like, I think it's good that these women are finally speaking up and getting their voices heard, and people aren't going to let this happen anymore. And they said, yeah, but what about your dad? I mean, legit question. And she was like, well, he's vehemently denied he's already denied all of those claims. Well, wait a second. Wait a second. So all women need a voice, and it's good that they all have a voice, except for all of the women that accuse your father of being, sexual offender. Is that not nepotism for you? So you got Kushner rolling around. Anybody would have been fired 6 times. Like, dude, it's not even the 666 Fifth Avenue during the transition. He's peace in the Middle East because those are the people that that's who he's trying to sell real estate to. Same thing with Don Jr. Now, I know Don Jr., to his credit, doesn't have an official White House job that I know of right now. But he was in the Russian treason meeting July 2016. Or was it June? He's in that meeting. Don Jr. goes to India. And he's set to give a speech on, like, foreign policy. And people in Congress are like, yo. You don't work for you don't represent the White House. And then he just went over and he started talking about, like, his selling condos in India or whatever. I walk through these neighborhoods and I see the poorest of the poor. And they're happy. They got a smile on their face. Yeah? And I'm looking on TV right now, and I see the richest of the rich who used Russians to steal an election, and I see the biggest smile on their face. Everybody's happy, right? I mean, what? You can't, there's a reason you don't hire your family members. And everyone has the one example of, well, John F. Kennedy hired Robert Kennedy. He had his brother as the Attorney General. Robert Kennedy was just as decorated politician as John was. Trump wasn't a politician, still not a politician, hired his children, who are non-politicians, to jobs in the White. That is nepotism. That is not normal. And that is why I have not one but 2 podcasts now. Because I have to come on here every week and remind everyone that this is not normal. I saw Showtime as a new show, Our Cartoon President. Looks kind of cute. Might be funny. Only problem is, that's normalization. I didn't see Saturday Night Live last night. I only saw a morning of rage tweets from a psychopath But I'm pretty sure whatever Alec Baldwin did on SNL last night was more normalization. You can't sit around and normalize this. Instead of normalize, you have to organize. And that's what we're going to do. We are organizing. Right now, actually, I'll give you a little insight into my life. Right now, since it's a midterm year, I'm looking for one of these campaign jobs, like, where you go and you get people to sign up, register people, convince people. Because, look, basically, there are jobs out there that they want me to go on the street and basically do a podcast live. Like, everything I talk about on the podcast, there are jobs where they want you to be in the street saying those things. Fighting for the things that are right, for these progressive things. The only problem is that the interviews are on days where I already work. And, I mean, how responsible would it be to take off of work to go to a job interview? I mean, I just don't. But yeah, there's that. Like, so we gotta organize. So, like, I'm looking to get into something like that. I'm looking to get into some kind of job where I'm in the city so I can march, so I can be ready. And because I really gotta get out of Catholic school. I gotta get out of school because I don't want to get shot. I mean, to be honest with you, I'm not a tough guy, you know? And I'm not somebody who, when the gunman comes in, is going to be able to calmly move children into a closet. I'm not going to be able to do that. So I got to get out of those, because if I wanted to be in a war zone, I could have signed up for the army, or I could have had my living ancestors pay for me to go to Israel. Because, you know, being Jewish, you're allowed to go to Israel for free. Why would anyone want to go to Israel? It's an active war zone. Same with school. And today, just breaking, there was a shooting at a college campus. So, thoughts and prayers. Thoughts and prayers to the families of those affected by that shooting. What we're gonna do as Americans is absolutely nothing, because Americans don't care about anything besides guns and God. That's all Americans care about. Guns, God, and white people. It's a shame. No, but in all seriousness, like, doesn't matter. It's a developing story. It doesn't matter what the story actually is. It's gonna end with the same thing. Oh, mentally ill. Well, if they're white, it's gonna be mentally ill. Are they Jewish? Because that's what they tried to do to this Parkland shooter. Right-wing media was trying to paint him as a Jew first. Is he Jewish? Maybe he's Hebrew. Maybe he's liberal. Oh, he supports us? Okay, he's mentally ill. I mean, it only makes sense in the sense where, yeah, you have to be mentally ill in order to support this fascist regime. But, I mean, the same old story. Mentally ill, background checks, why do you have a gun, state laws, state rights, NRA, thoughts and prayers. Then, a couple weeks later, they're gonna kill him. Because they're not gonna care about him being mentally ill when they give him the death penalty. Or, he'll be brown. And if he's brown, he'll have ties to ISIS. That's what they'll say. And then in a couple of hours, I'll get an Apple News alert that says, ISIS has claimed responsibility for, you know, the death and such and such. Same old story. The only story, it's the same old story, whereas the gun laws need to be changed, man. The gun laws need to be changed. And listen, I don't think anyone should have guns. I've said this before. I think a country without guns is a better country, right? But, like, if you want to hunt, alright, I can't sit here and argue, because, like, there's a whole population control thing with deer. Like, so, I get it. People eat deer. Whatever. Ted Nugent. Deer scratch fever. If you want to keep a handgun locked in your dresser drawer, you think that is going to protect you from a home invader or something, or a totalitarian government coming to get you, okay. Again, I want to argue with you, but whatever. But the Supreme Court in 1992, I want to say, deemed that AR-15s, or I think it was AR, AR-16, I don't know what it was. Assault rifles are not protected under the Second Amendment. Weapons of war are not. Sporting weapons and for protection. That's all you can have. So we got this shooting, and that's America for you. America in a nutshell. Central Michigan University is where it was. Is where the shooting was. Okay, so let's wrap it up here. But on Sunday, over the weekend, we're going to get into a brand new episode of the Jay Porks podcast. I'm going to talk about the latest Mueller developments. That's the word I was looking for at the beginning of the podcast. The latest Mueller developments. We're going to look into the departure of Hope Hicks and why newscasters are not allowed... No, I'm sorry. And why Vox.com is not allowed to say that the media treated her in a sexist way. Might talk a little bit about tax cuts and how they're not helping you. And we're going to talk about Bolt Bus replying to me, letting me know if I'm getting a refund on that bus ride home from Heck the other night. Coming back from Jersey for the Third Eye Blind show and hanging out with my girlfriend pre-Valentine's Day. We'll find out all of that on Monday on the latest episode of the Jay Porks podcast. Until then, this has been Jay Porks, Dyze, in your house.